Snow on the windshield or coffee on a terrace? What do you want your mornings to feel like? If rising costs have you stuck, there's another path. 5 Italian countryside houses where prices stay within reach, each set in towns where the train still carries you to errands. Markets open each morning, and healthcare is never far away. But all offer unique experiences, their own kind of life. See, one rests on a ridge lined with hazelnuts and Barbera wine. Another keeps your beach bag by the door, just steps from the sea. But first, let's begin with a place that feels like a long exhale with the stone walls, warm light, and slow breakfast in the hills. Cortona Hills! The day begins here in fragments of sound and scent. Cicadas stir before you even open your eyes. Somewhere in the distance, a bread van rattles up the lane, its horn a soft reminder that life is still moving, even in the slowest corners of Tuscany. One by one, shutters open across the hillside, their iron latches clanging softly. The stone walls, heavy and enduring, hold the cool of the night even as sunlight starts to spill across the slopes. This is the kind of place where retirement isn't just a chapter. It feels like a whole new book. The pages turn more slowly here. You live outdoors, barefoot more often than not, with mornings shaped by church bells, and afternoons spent under olive trees. If you want to ease into the rhythm before committing fully, you can always test drive it first. Rent for a few months and see how it feels. A home in the village center will usually run between 550 and 950 euros per month. Step just outside the walls. Just a 10-minute walk, and the price can drop closer to 420. Internet tends to cost 25 to 35 euros monthly. Dinner out, a plate of pasta, and a glass of wine for under 20 euros. A reminder that here, living well doesn't mean spending more. Healthcare is never far away, though many locals joke you may hardly need it if you live on market vegetables and hillside walks. Emergency rooms are within reach. Frada and Arezzo are about 30 minutes by car. If you're between 60 and 70, private health insurance typically runs 70 to 120 euros per month. Once you establish residency, you can enter Italy's amazing healthcare programs by paying an annual fee, giving you full access to the national healthcare network. For those who want to stay longer than a season, Italy makes a clear path. The elective residence visa is the gateway for retirees and others with passive income. It does not permit work in Italy, but it allows you to settle into the lifestyle fully. To qualify, you need proof of a steady income, such as pensions, rental earnings, or investments, along with private health coverage for your first year. The process requires patience, but once approved, it unlocks a chance to live as a resident rather than a visitor. Importantly, this same visa applies across all the regions we will explore next, making the doorway into Italy consistent, whether you prefer hills, vineyards, or the sea. We met a former teacher who made the leap. She left northern drizzle behind and moved here on the elective residence visa. She started with a short lease in Camusia, then found her place among neighbors who treat her like family. Mornings are now spent at the open-air market, choosing peaches and pecorino. Afternoons are reserved for pruning lessons from a farmer who insists she take extra figs when she leaves. She smiles when she says, "I spend less and live more." And it's true. You can see it in the way she knows which apricot tree leans over which fence. And guess what? You can make the move just like she did. We found a home that is just waiting for a buyer. It is a ground floor flat priced at 92,000 euros. It's a recent build, complete with its own private garden and independent entry. No need to worry about drafty windows or outdated systems. This home offers easy access to services, short walks into town, and a train station that links you to Florence or Rome. You can step off the plane, collect the keys, and begin. Now, leaving these hills feels like leaving a long embrace, but there is one place we need to tell you, a place where the ridges rise sharper, rail tracks weave through valleys, and Rome suddenly feels like it belongs to your weekend. It's a life where errands come by train, where a cappuccino in Orvieto is as simple as stepping onto a platform. Fabro. See, there's a certain kind of morning that only happens in central Italy. You hear it before you see it, a soft hum rising behind the trees, low and steady. The train's just passed, heading toward Rome, slicing quietly through the mist. You step into the courtyard and catch a faint scent of wood smoke and baking bread. Somewhere nearby, a forno's lit for the day, and the village begins to stir. Not all at once, but gently. Everything feels close, like you don't have to try too hard. That's the rhythm here. Life doesn't ask you to slow down. It just makes it easy to. You run errands on foot or by train. The hills don't just hold vineyards, they hold time, and you suddenly have more of it. For retirees, this is gold. You don't need a car every day. There's a station close by, and the inner city trains make Orvieto, Rome, or Florence all feel like part of your backyard. Even the basics work better here. Monthly utilities, even in a farmhouse, tend to sit somewhere between 140 and 220 euros. Groceries, especially if you lean toward the local cheese, fresh produce, and butcher's cuts, stay in the range of 220 to 320 euros per month. A regional rail pass, usually between 25 and 45 euros, which makes spontaneous trips surprisingly doable. Hospitals don't feel far either. Orvieto's hospital is around 15 to 25 minutes away by car, and its cardiology unit is well regarded. For expats, especially those retiring from the United States or Canada, that kind of access can offer quiet confidence. Plus, private health insurance for retirees between 60 and 70 years old usually ranges from 70 to 120 euros per month, bridging the gap until residency unlocks enrollment in the national healthcare system through an annual contribution. And the visa that makes it all possible is the same one you need in the Tuscany region. It is built for retirees with passive income who want stability and simplicity in Italy, so it doesn't change from region to region. If you can match that, then you can move in today. Literally. Because one apartment in Fabro Scalo is available right now for 95,000 euros. Offers about 130 square meters of living space. 2 bathrooms, a private garage, and even lift access make it rare at this price point. The finishes are modern, ready, and waiting. Most of all, it is steps away from both services and the station. That means errands can be as quick as a walk to the bakery or as grand as an afternoon in Orvieto. But let's move to a place where the landscape widens, vineyards fall away, chestnut trees take root, and the hills soften as the road leans south. In this soil, truffles thrive, and under the sky, sunsets pour gold into the horizon. Different pace, same promise. Langa Astigiana. There are places where the horizon feels like it rolls on forever, and this is one of them. You step outside in the early morning, and the ridges stretch out ahead of you like waves, folding into one another until they dissolve into blue. The air is rich, almost heavy, but in a comforting way. It carries the smell of soil, stone, and hazelnut blossoms. Somewhere below, a vaulted cantina waits for you, cool and still, lined with old brick. You imagine it filled with bottles of Barbera, just resting until autumn, until family or friends gather to open one. This part of Italy isn't flashy. It's honest. The land has always been worked, hazelnuts, grapes, pasture, truffles, but it doesn't feel worn out. It feels alive. There's a rhythm here that suits someone ready to retire, not into silence, but into steadiness. You notice it in the quiet of the small piazzas. You notice it in the way neighbors wave from across fields, not because they have to, but because that's what they've always done. If you've always wanted land, this is where it feels possible without being overwhelming. You don't have to take on more than you can handle. You can lease pasture to a farmer down the road or hire a caretaker to keep things moving. Expect to spend around 1,500 to 3,000 euros a year for that kind of help. It's a small price to pay for peace of mind, and it keeps the dream from becoming a burden. The rest of life? Surprisingly affordable. Dinner at a trattoria will usually fall between 10 and 18 euros per person, and it comes with wine that tastes like it was bottled just for you. Internet runs 25 to 35 euros per month. Steady enough for video calls with grandchildren or streaming your favorite films. Groceries depend on the season. You might spend more in autumn when truffles appear, but most of the year, 200 to 300 euros is enough for a household that shops local. Healthcare is reachable and solid. Asti and Nizza Monferrato both have hospitals within a 20 to 45-minute drive, which means you don't feel cut off when you need care. For residency, the elective residence visa is the path. It requires proof of passive income, private health insurance at first, and patience with paperwork. Once you're settled, you can switch into the national system, which balances costs with broad access. One retired engineer we spoke with described his days with a quiet smile. He prunes just 2 rows of vines himself, enough to feel connected without being overwhelmed. He trades vegetables from his garden with neighbors who help during harvest. In return, they share bottles of their own wine. At night, he places a few of his bottles in the cool arches of his cellar, the kind you can only find here. "The land doesn't weigh on me," he said. "It carries me." The reality, though, is that land asks for commitment. Even a small orchard or vineyard means decisions. When to prune, how to manage pests, what to do in a hot summer. Without support, it's easy to fall behind. That's why planning for a caretaker isn't just smart, it's necessary. It's the bridge between romance and reality, the piece that makes the whole picture work. Right now, there's a turnkey stone house in Monastero Bormida that captures this lifestyle in full. About 180 square meters across 2 levels, with its own vaulted spaces, 5 hectares of private land, a refurbished storehouse, and even a traditional hay barn. The setting is quiet, perched on a ridge in the Langa Astigiana, with Aquiterme's services and hospital just 20 to 30 minutes away. The Ligurian coast lies within reach too, about 90 minutes drive. The asking price is 120,000 euros. From here, the mood shifts. The hills soften and lean southward. The breeze turns warmer, touched by salt and thyme. Hazelnut groves thin out, replaced by olives and citrus. Villages gather closer to the sea, their rhythms tied not to the harvest, but to the port. Boats tug at their moorings, and terraces overlook not just vineyards, but the glittering line of the horizon. We move now from vaulted wine cellars to fishing boats, from the cool hush of cantinas to the golden hush of coastal groves. Sciacca hinterland? The first thing you hear in the morning is the sound of boats. Their engines rattle against calm water, nets dripping with the weight of the night's catch. By the time the sun crests the horizon, the town is already alive. Men call out from the quay, baskets shuffle from dock to stall, and the rhythm of the port sets the pace for the day. Step outside, and the air greets you, salt mixed with thyme, and the faint dust of stone warming under the Sicilian sun. It is a scent you don't forget. By afternoon, when the light tilts westward, the hills above town glow gold, and your own grove of olives takes on a shimmer that feels like it belongs in a painting. We met a painter from Toronto who found her rhythm here. For years, she felt boxed in by the gray skyline, her brushes collecting dust on city shelves. In Sicily, the light returned to her. Each morning, she sits near the port sketching fishing boats, capturing the clatter and the quiet in equal measure. By afternoon, she has shifted to her grove, setting up her easel under the shade of citrus trees. Neighbors stop by to look, to chat, to comment, and sometimes to correct her Italian. "I came here for space," she told us with a grin, but what I found was color everywhere. Life here balances itself between the practical and the poetic. A couple can live well on a monthly budget of about 1,000 to 1,300 euros. Groceries run between 220 and 320 euros. Markets spilling with tomatoes, aubergines, and fish that was pulled from the water just hours before. Utilities hover from 140 to 220 euros. Add in seaside dinners, maybe a glass of Marsala, and the budget grows only if you let it. The rhythm is steady. Mornings at the market, afternoons in the grove, evenings on a terrace with the sea breeze threading through. Services do not sit far away either. The hospital is 10 to 15 minutes by car, close enough to reassure, far enough not to intrude. For retirees, it means peace of mind, whether it's a cardiology check or a sudden trip to the emergency room. The path to staying is the same here as in Cortona or Orvieto, the elective residence visa. It requires proof of passive income, private health insurance at the start, and patience with consular paperwork. Once residency is in hand, you can enroll in the National Health Service with a simple annual contribution. And the homes? They remain surprisingly within reach. One listing we saw in the Ferraro Montagna Santa Maria countryside offers a country house with its own garden for 59,000 euros. Modest in scale, about 80 square meters across 2 levels. It comes with roughly 1,200 square meters of land. Olives, oranges, and fruit trees are already in the ground, already part of the view. Close enough to Sciacca for shopping and care, yet tucked far enough inland to keep the evenings quiet. It is the kind of place that doesn't wait for you. It waits with you. But you can leave the work of the port behind and carry its steady rhythm with you, because the road east threads between vineyards and stone villages before the landscape widens toward the strait. Life organizes itself there. Trains run on time, hospitals sit within easy reach, and shops stay open when you need them. Turn inland, and the volume drops to a whisper. Citrus, rosemary, a flicker of blue beyond the trees. The next stop lives in this narrow band between city and sea, where mornings begin softly and the rest of the day falls into place. Messina hinterland. Somewhere between the sound of birdsong and the smell of citrus peel warming in the sun, your shoulders drop, not in exhaustion, but in release. Here, the mornings are soft. You wake not to the rattle of traffic or the harsh scrape of shoveling snow, but to the rustle of trees and the hum of bees working ahead of you. It's the kind of quiet that doesn't feel empty. It feels earned. Like this place waited for you to notice it. The coast is close, but you would not know it at first. Just beyond the next bend, it's there, a glint of blue, a shimmer in the morning light. You could drive down in 12 minutes, maybe 15 if you stop for bread. Once you reach the Lungomare, it is all marble tiles, fishermen's boats bobbing in the sun, and a handful of locals already waist-deep in the sea before lunch. Later, as you drive home, the air shifts. Salty gives way to sweet. You are climbing again, back into olive-covered hills, to a home where the only noise is birds, or maybe a neighbor calling from 2 rows over in the citrus grove. This is where the dream of coastal Italy gets a twist. You are not right on the water, with the price tag that brings. You are close enough to touch it, yet far enough that life is quieter, more affordable, and more yours. Rental prices here in the Rometta and Saponara outskirts typically land between 420 and 750 euros per month. These are not studio apartments. They're often small houses with terraces or gardens, sometimes even space for chickens or lemon trees. You could test a full season here without breaking your budget. The rest of your monthly rhythm feels manageable too. Internet service runs around 25 to 35 euros per month and is strong enough for video calls, streaming, or remote work. Visits to a local doctor range between 40 and 70 euros without public coverage. And the pharmacies here still know your name after one visit. Food is seasonal, fresh, and local. Groceries for a couple usually come in under 300 euros a month, and there is a cafe on every corner where an espresso still costs 1 euro and change. And while your home might be tucked into hills and groves, help is never far. Messina's major hospital, the Polyclinic, is just 15 to 25 minutes away by car. That includes specialists, emergency care, and a modern facility large enough to feel secure, but not so sprawling that you feel lost. It's the benefit of being on the edge of a real city while living a life that's anything but urban. If you're planning to move from abroad, you'll want to explore the elective residence visa route. It's designed for people with passive income, pensions, investments, rental earnings, and requires private health insurance at first. No work on Italian soil is allowed, and the consulate process can take time. But once you're settled and legally resident, you can opt into the national healthcare system for an annual fee, just like a local. One woman we met, a retired nurse from Ontario, summed it up best. "I used to spend 20 minutes scraping ice off my windshield just to get to work. Now I spend 20 minutes picking lemons with a neighbor who insists on bringing me espresso while I prune." Her little grove sits up above Rometta, where the breeze carries the scent of rosemary and salt. The neighborhood showed up on her second day with advice, baskets, and folding chairs. "They didn't care I didn't speak perfect Italian," she said. "They just cared that I was here." The pull of this area is simple. Life tilts toward the sea without giving up the hills. Markets and healthcare are close in Messina, yet evenings still belong to the countryside. You hear birds more than cars, and citrus trees mark the seasons more clearly than calendars. One current listing shows how reachable this dream can be. In Rometta, an independent house on Via Soto Castello is offered at €80,000. The property spans about 110 square meters over 2 levels, with a private courtyard of 180 square meters and an impressive parcel of land, around 11,000 square meters that roll from flat to slope. It is the kind of place where a citrus grove, olive trees, and a kitchen garden all fit easily. The coastline sits just 5 to 10 minutes away by car, with daily services along the state road only 2 kilometers down the hill. That is not a fantasy number. It is happening right now in one of the most overlooked corners of Sicily. Enjoying the hunt? Tap subscribe. New Italian countryside finds every day. Which would you choose? Vineyard Ridge or Seabreeze Grove? Share it in the comments below. And with that, our journey across 5 Italian countryside escapes wraps up. But for you, the search might just be beginning. Click the video on screen. Trust me, if you stay till the end, you love this one too. Thanks for watching.